Well, Deb Murphy filed this story for Sierra Wave Media. After 4 hours of wrangling with Inyo County draft ordinances and licensing protocol, a few things became crystal clear at Tuesday's Inyo County Board of Supervisors meeting. There are a lot of players in the cannabis game, none of whom like the 7-year limit on competitive license renewals the state has committed to licensing as of January 1st, 2018. But nobody really believes it'll happen, and there will be a moratorium on operations until the county policies are etched in stone. Now, Marshall Rudolph and John Vallejo, county council and deputy council respectively, made the argument for the moratorium, a separate agenda item following the workshop. California law gives the state the right to issue commercial licenses if a city or county has not passed ordinances banning recreational cannabis businesses. Now, if Inyo hasn't approved its ordinances, the state could issue licenses, hypothetically grandfathering in those businesses that will not have to adhere to the county's regulations. Rudolph and Vallejo stressed the moratorium wasn't going to be used as a sword to go after medical marijuana operations. Now, that sounds logical unless you're currently operating a medicinal cannabis collective like Alina and Jacob Wagner's Pals Collective just outside Bishop city limits. Now, the Wagners were concerned that if they continued providing medical marijuana to their clientele, they would be out of compliance with the law, and that could be used against them during the eventual licensing procedure. Now, Steve McNeil, he has plans for an operation in Tacopa, provided a counterpoint to the council's argument, saying if there are no state licenses available and you can't operate without a state license, you can't put a moratorium on something that isn't legal. The only thing that both sides of the moratorium issued agreed on was that medicinal marijuana operations were currently operating in a gray area. Now, the Board of Supervisors followed council's advice and approved the moratorium. Arguments that seem to have an impact on the supervisors included startup costs for operations run so high, the county may not be able to attract high-quality cannabis businesses with a 7-year cap on license renewals. The draft ordinance would put those licensees through a competitive process at the end of the 7 or 10-year period. Now, under the draft licensing evaluation process, the county requested employees be paid 200% above the living wage for the federal poverty level for a family of 2. McNeil pointed out that amounted to $50,000 a year, not really a sustainable wage for business owners. It's also more than the county pays some of its own job categories. Now, the land use ordinance should allow for businesses in larger parcels zoned rural residential with additional setbacks from neighbors. Now, the rural residential zoning designation currently applies to some parcels from a half to 20 acres. Also, considering the scarcity of manufacturing zones in the county, Inyo County could allow manufacturing in appropriate open space and rural residential zones, again with appropriately increased setbacks. Now, the draft suggests limiting the number of cannabis businesses in each of the 5 supervisoral districts. Limiting by district seemed to be acceptable, but boundaries other than the supervisoral districts seem more appropriate. Now, a series of community workshops held last spring helped the framework of the county's draft ordinances. The 4 workshops starting tonight in Olancha will help refine the next iteration scheduled for the December 5th Inyo County Board of Supervisors meeting, again in Big Pine Town Hall, November 14th, Saracosta Community College, Bishop on the 15th, and the Hurlbut Rook Community Center in Tacopa on the 16th. All of those workshops run from 6 until 8 p.m. Deb's full story is on sierrawave.net. Well, Veterans Day is this Saturday, November 11th, and as always, Big Pine American Legion Glacier Post 457 commemorating Veterans Day with activities beginning at 8 a.m. Big Pine Cemetery, where flags will be placed on each veteran's headstone. Now, the public is invited to attend the Veterans Day service, which will begin at 11 a.m. at the Big Pine Veterans Memorial. That's at the intersection of Highway 395-168 at the north end of Big Pine. Also, Manzanar National Historic Site will have a special Veterans Day program this Saturday. This is featuring Robert Borchers Jr., who will talk about his father, Marine PFC Robert E. Borchers, who, upon returning from fighting in the Pacific, he learned that the United States had incarcerated 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry, 2/3 of whom were U.S. citizens. wrote a fiery letter in defense of Japanese Americans, saying, "We are fighting for freedom for all Americans, regardless of their ancestry. Yes, we believe in those things for which we fight, and we believe in fighting until we get those inalienable rights, liberty, and justice for all, no matter how long it takes to secure them." Now, that letter was published in Time magazine. We have a full press release that is posted on our website, sierrawave.net. Well, the Bishop Chamber of Commerce busy planning several fun and festive holiday events. Everyone's invited to join in the fun. This year's Main Street Christmas Parade, a nighttime event once again, Saturday, December 2nd. 4:30 start time. Lighted floats, marching bands, vintage vehicles, wagons, and more will celebrate the theme Christmas in our big backyard. Now, immediately following the parade, everyone is encouraged to gather at Bishop City Park for the official tree lighting ceremony. Then you want to stroll downtown for the annual Street of Lights Merchant Party. Many shops will be open at late, offering great deals and refreshments. You can get official Street of Lights maps stamped by participating merchants. Get a chance to win some raffle prizes, $500 in cash. That raffle will be held at Bishop City Park at 8:30 p.m. Get all the information, parade entry forms, Street of Lights merchant registration forms at Bishop Chamber of Commerce. Those are due by November 20th. We'll also note the 3rd annual Railroad Express event, December 9th, Laws Railroad Museum. Families, young children, you're going to enjoy the train rides, live entertainment, refreshments, crafts and activities, plus a visit with Santa and Mrs. Claus. Tickets are limited for that event. Again, more information available at the Bishop Area Chamber of Commerce. Well, donations are sought for the annual Eastern Sierra Shop with a Cop. Law enforcement officers and public safety staff from law enforcement and criminal justice agencies throughout Mono and Inyo counties busy planning the annual Shop with a Cop event Saturday, December 9th. It's a special day, the press release notes, where local law enforcement brings the true spirit of Christmas to families in need throughout the Eastern Sierra. Children from disadvantaged families are identified by various agencies. Saturday morning, children will be picked up at their homes by their law enforcement partners, taken to breakfast. After that, officers and the children respond code 3, that's with lights and sirens. It's always very exciting. Through Bishop to Kmart to start the shopping extravaganza, each child given $200 to shop for gifts for their families. After all the gifts have been purchased, local volunteers wrap the gifts and the officers and the children travel home where an early holiday celebration begins. Now, the goal for the 2017 Shop with a Cop event, provide Christmas to 60 children and their families. It's a completely donation-driven event. You can get into the holiday spirit and donate if you would like at the Mono County Sheriff's Office, Inyo County Sheriff's Office, Bishop Police Department, and the Mammoth Lakes Police Department. That full press release with the contact information has been posted on our website, sierrawave.net. We'll be back with more news.